please contact the Selectmen's office for a listing and application. Donations to the food pantry can be made to the Council on Aging or the Public Library. I would like to make another announcement that was given to me by Police Chief Dufely. And we want to make note that you be aware, or we be aware, of the passing of Officer Gillen's father on Sunday, June 7th. There will be no services, and could you pass this along to the Selectmen? So, here I am, okay? Okay, the agenda. You go down the agenda quickly. First item is reorganization of the Board of Selectmen. Second item is a request for appointments to the Business Development Commission. Then budget transfers. Then Plymouth County Advisory Board appointment. And then the town administrator's update on several items: Corey policy, disband police and fire building committee, and bond and pond committee, request to transfer funds to supplement multiple departments, fire station building update, approval of the house notes bonding discussion, capital project update, playground update, Board of Selectmen's comment period. We have Mr. Duggan on taxes in the community, town administrator's goals and objectives, school building committee, MSBA, and the water well update, and reappointments, then the minutes, and then we have a couple common victuals license for the King's Fair, and other minutes, and then a discussion on our next meetings, and then public comment period. Also, we have a period here. Anybody that is public that would like to discuss some particular item on the agenda first? Mr. Belvin.
Robert Belvin, 26 Gate Street. A couple of the questions I had about this, about the agenda today. The first one is appointments. I kind of would like you to hold off on the Conservation Commission appointments, because I'd like to speak toward the public session about that till the next meeting. The second part is about disbanding the Police and Fire Station Building Committee. I think the police station still needs to be built. Just wanted to make sure that there's another committee that will be opening up for the Police Station Committee. And the last one I forgot, but it's okay, that's good enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Belvin. Those two items we can discuss when we get to them, and see if we want to postpone them or however we want to deal with those. Okay. Anybody else that would like to speak to the agenda?
This young gentleman.
Sure. Come on up. Yep.
I'm John Clare. I live on 35 Cedar Drive. And as you folks all know, basically that area, that neighborhood at this time of the year is a recreation area, you know, due to Vaughn's Pond, Crystal Lake, whichever one you want to call it. And the thing about it is that we have an awful lot of speeding going on during the course of the day, but also on weekends too. And there's a couple things that really complicate the situation. On the weekends...
Can I interrupt you, Joe?
Oh,
Where
sure.
are we talking now?
35 Cedar Drive.
Okay, right in Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
On the weekends, we also have another problem, which is double parking, or parking on both sides of the road. So if you combine speeding with cars on both sides of the road, plus the children being released from school in the next week or so, I guess, there's gonna be some kind of an accident. I mean, you know, it's gonna happen. So I've kind of been working with John and the DPW, excuse me, and the chief of police, and we've tried a couple of different methods. The first thing we did was I asked them to update all the signage on the street, so that there was, 15-mile-an-hour signs on both sides of the street, properly spaced. And also, they added a couple of signs for slow children, because we have a lot of handicapped people down there, too. So we did that, and then John was kind enough to find the speed box, which I guess has been lost for quite a while, a couple years. The speed box, which basically gives you the speed, your speed, versus the posted speed. And we had that down there for 2 or 3 days. And it actually made somewhat of a difference, But, so what we've tried to do is we tried to, work different methods to kind of solve the problem. And this past week, after some prodding, the chief has a gentleman who came down yesterday and today in the morning.
In a cruiser?
In a cruiser, yeah. And so, up to now, there's been, no police enforcement of that at all in the area. So, I was happy to see that. But the thing about it is that mostly in the morning is when they're there. And the problem is very prevalent in the afternoon, when people obviously are coming home from work, okay? So I gave him 2 time frames to kind of work with. I mean, they're not carved in stone, I mean, I'm just trying to make it so that, the police units are effectively used, But the other real thing that I think is going to solve the problem, and I've suggested, and John from the DPW was actually with me there for a while, was speed bumps, the legal kind. I guess there's 2 that you can put in, one are legal, one are illegal. The legal kind was what I requested. And apparently there's a product out there that he has a source for, which you can put the speed bumps down, but then in the wintertime, when it's being plowed, you can take them up. And that would be ideal, I think that would be ideal. Now, as we kind of went along a little bit, all of a sudden, we cooled that right off. That just went away. I don't know why. He apparently was concerned about perhaps kids taking them up and throwing them, or getting rid of them, or throwing them in the water, or whatever, however you want to phrase it. But I mean, that's a noble and understanding thought. I can completely agree. But I mean, how much is a life worth? I mean, that's what it comes down to. So we really have to do something about it, because it's just not something that just is going to go away. It's not. People in that area, because it's very cyclic. I mean, there's a couple years where we don't have an awful lot of children down there, and then a couple years later, there's another generation that moves into the housing because it's low priced, et cetera, and we have more children. And this is going to be one of those years where there's going to be a lot of children, in the streets and stuff. So I just want to have something done about it. I think it's something that really needs to be addressed. And I don't mean to be a squeaky wheel, but apparently that's, I feel kind of that's the way you have to do it. I don't really believe in 85 is the new 65 either, but.
I do.
Yeah, but, I mean, I just, people should obey the speed limits,
Thank you. Yes, it
Yes,
does.
yeah.
And
Okay.
we have this very expensive police sign out front, which is a great sign, okay?
The trailer.
Yeah, in front of the building. But the thing that I don't understand is why is it not utilized that says speed limit 35, or slow, caution, slow, or some kind of a public safety message on the sign when it's not being used to announce like the drug forum or something of that nature. I don't understand why it's not being utilized. I mean, somehow I might be wrong, but I mean, I just don't understand why it's not utilized. So those are my basic points.
So you would like reconsideration of that speed bump as one
Yeah.
solution?
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to work with any solution, but I really think, when it's all said and done, that's gonna be how it's gonna have to be dealt with. Because people love people, they do whatever they want, they think only about themselves for the most part, and somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody's gonna get badly hurt up here during the summer, so. that's really all I have to say.
Obviously, in Crystal Lake, the speeders must be residents there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So tickets,
Yeah.
they wouldn't like to get a ticket on their own street, but if they're speeding and endangering kids,
Has to be done,
Yeah.
it has to be done. I'm 58 years old. I never thought I would be the old man screaming at passing cars, slow down, okay? But there I am, And,
You're only
we're-
38, though.
Yeah, John from DPW and I were talking out here with the chief, and John mentioned that his father's solution to the problem was a rake,
What?
throw a rake out there. And I sent the chief an email, and at the end of it, I said, that rake is looking real good, So,
all right, cool.
all right?
Yeah, thank
We
you.
appreciate you coming.
Thank
you very much.
Please help me, that's all I'm asking,
All
I'm just
right.
asking for some help.
Okay,
I'll do anything you want, any solution you want, but I think it's gonna come down to speed bumps.
thank you. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to the agenda? I know that was a little more than the agenda. Okay. Do you want to discuss that gentleman's concerns further, or you want to wait till we're down at,
Well, we have to have it on the agenda.
Yeah, I don't think we
All
can
right.
really discuss it now because,
good?
It
Jeff?
wasn't
I
on
think
the,
each of us could privately just talk to the chief or
Right.
Yeah.
John Woods and see where they're at with solutions.
because it seems
Okay,
like they're trying
good.
to work with the, with
He
the
is.
neighbors.
Sounds like he's fairly reasonable.
Let me throw this out. Without any objections from the board, what I'd like to do is to meet with the chief and with Mr. Woods and look at putting a temporary speed hump. I think it's the humps
Yeah.
that are allowed, and those are portable, and they're nailed down to the asphalt. And for us to, at their discretion appropriately throughout the town, try it in one or two of these places for about a 2-week period and see what the success is or not the success, and then come back and report to you as to how successful or unsuccessful that was.
But we really can't make a decision on that because it's not on the agenda.
No, I'm just
Take
saying,
that's an
I would-
administrative,
Yeah,
If it's a
He's
ministry,
basically
Project.
just telling us what he's gonna do.
good,
unless there's any objections.
without having to vote.
I don't
Yeah.
think you have any objections.
That's what if there's no objections, then I'm gonna meet with the chief,
okay,
and we're gonna try this
Fair.
in 2 places for 2-week periods.
okay. Sounds
you.
like a good direction.
Thank you.
Okay, next agenda, reorganization and revote Board of Selectmen policies.
You want to do the reorganization first?
You kinda have to.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to keep the board the same with Dick Ward as the chair and Ron Clark as the vice chair, because I think they're doing a marvelous job.
You didn't give me a chance. Helen, I really appreciate your support, and I appreciate the whole board's support, because as I've said to other people, in past years, I have come into selectmen's meetings with a considerable level of anxiety at times. And with this board, I have not. I have felt that if I stumble, you have been there to help me, everybody. And I have greatly appreciated that. And I've appreciated working with our town administrator and Elaine, our assistant town administrator. And but I am fully involved with the building committee.
Yep.
And we are going into outreach work within the town, and we've gone to 2 meetings a month to go over plans as they're expanded or changed. And my level of work is just very
Right,
high.
intense, yeah.
And so I don't feel that I can do the chair position
Okay.
again, because there is many times you're coming in to talk with Michael about something or something that needs to get signed by the chairperson. And then there is quite a bit of time commitment
Okay.
that I'm having difficulty. This last week or two, I haven't been in as much, Elaine will tell you that, because I've been working more on the books.
Should I
That's
amend
another
my
story.
motion then?
So I was gonna, if you'd like,
No, you go ahead. What is your
I was
recommendation?
just gonna make a motion that we move our vice chair up to chair.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna make the motion that Mr. Clark be the chair.
I'll second that.
And as a discussion, I can be here, I'm a block away. If you want me to serve as vice chair, I probably could do that, but otherwise, that's where I'm at. So,
I think
So
that's
there's been a
wonderful
motion made and a motion second, because I have to take over temporarily. And is there any more discussion on the motion for chair? Then can I ask for a roll call vote on Mr. Ward as chair?
I mean, is Mr. Clark on
You mean
chair?
I'm
Mr.
sorry, Mr.
Clark.
Clark. I tried.
you are really railroading me.
Alan Dunham votes aye for Mr. Clark as chair.
Sarah Hewens votes aye.
Dick Ward votes aye.
Oh, Helen Maroney says aye. You can't vote for yourself.
So the vote is 4-0-1, with one abstention. Congratulations, and the chair is turned back over to you.
And I'll make the motion to Dick Ward as vice chair, if that's what you
I would,
think will work.
I'll be willing to do that.
What do you guys?
I've got no problem with it.
Yeah.
He's got a better temperament than me.
No.
Why don't we make a second so we can discuss
Oh, I
this?
second. I'm sorry. I second Dick Ward as vice chair.
I think I said enough about how I felt about this board.
Yeah.
I think that we have worked as a board well. We don't agree on everything, but we've been you have been very respectful as a board. And I think that's what we really want to do our job and be respectful at the same time. So,
And we do have a good momentum going now, and that's why I think if you two work well together, and you won't have nearly as much to have to do, because we know Ron didn't do anything as vice chair all year.
I'm just kind of looking, I want to hear what Ron has to say, because
Yeah, he's
he doesn't
very
look real
quiet.
happy right
he
now.
looks
He's very
depressed.
quiet.
He looks depressed.
It's because he won't be sitting next to me anymore.
Why'd you call for the vote?
No, you're the chair.
That's right.
Call for the vote for Dick Ward as vice chair. Roll call vote, starting at this end.
Why? Helen Maroney says aye.
Ron Clark says aye.
Sarah
Aye.
Hewens says aye.
Alan Dunham says aye.
I abstain.
No, the chair's here.
He's gonna go get sick.
Don't feel like you have to rush.
Dick, you have to put the chair sign next to Ron's.
Oh, yeah, what did I do? Move that?
Here's your hat, what's your hurry?
Do you plan on speaking a lot tonight? This is why you get in the water?
New sheriff in town, Mr. Town Administrator.
Congratulations, Mr. Clark.
Things aren't gonna go as easy as they used to.
Welcome
Okay.
back.
Hi, Helen.
Nice to see you again.
All right, next item on the agenda. Let me just first say that I can only hope that I can come close to doing the steady, level-headed job that Dick did.
He's done great.
Having done the job before and knowing what it takes to do the job. It's, you know, he did a fantastic job. He put hours and hours into it, and again, I can only hope to come close to trying to do as well as he did and being the steady hand that he was. I think the real loser in this is Liberty Mutual, my employer. So, next item is to revote the Board of Selectmen policies. Was there some order, Michael, that you wanted to take this in?
Just as in the packet's fine.
All right, I've got,
Mr. Chairman, I did notice going through that we were missing one of the policies. We don't have the copy of the blogging policy in that packet.
is there any effective change in any of the wording of any of these policies from what we've approved in the past?
Actually, yes, Mr. Chairman, on the Board of Selectmen agenda policy, on number 1, we have to remove the phrasing second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, and just make it read so on the Wednesday prior to the Selectmen's meeting.
Okay.
Other than that, I didn't find anything.
All right, so is that a motion to amend the,
Yes.
amend and approve the Board of Selectmen agenda policy?
I'll second that motion.
All right, do we have that, Michael? Further discussion? There being none, those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, we've approved the Board of Selectmen agenda policy. I next have in front of me the, that's not it, Code of Conduct of the Board of Selectmen, last revised on May 13th, 2014. Is any of the wording here changed from what we approved last year?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
All right, 4-1-0.
Code of conduct, 4 to 1.
Financial management
What was
policies.
that, 410?
Yes.
I didn't hear. Oh.
Sarah voted against.
Oh, okay.
Financial management policies, initially adopted February 11th, 2014, revised 5/13/2014, approved by town meeting on 6/16/14.
I move
Eight.
we adopt.
Second.
Further discussion?
Just a brief discussion. I know I've, every once in a while, spouted off about this, that it's a policy and not the law. I think it's a great policy. I think, though, that, you know, when we need to do something that is not in this policy, we should remember there are words in it like should, not shall. Having said that, I plan on voting for it.
Okay, fair enough. And I understand that the financial circumstances will sometimes dictate a deviation from the policy, but it needs to be discussed, and it, you know, hopefully on a one-off basis and not as a change in policy.
Right, and from a staffing standpoint, we have to follow these, but you have the ability of directing us to modify where the should comes into it. So from a staffing standpoint, from the treasurer, collector, the accountant, and all the department heads, this is what we do. And if you want to change that because something changes, then you have to tell us to do that. Otherwise, this is what we will be doing.
Did we get a motion to second on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it. I have next the investment policy statement.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Again, no changes to what was approved in the past? Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. The Town of Carver Visitors Code of Conduct.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's in your packet.
This is new, correct?
Yes.
And this is being put forward and has been done in other towns. We all have expectations when we come into a public place for public discourse, and we all expect the staff in town hall, the employees of the town, to be professional and treat the taxpayers in a civil and professional manner. I think tying into your code of conduct, tying into your bloggers policy, is that this is just for the other side of the coin. So when visitors come into town hall, we expect them to also be respectful. We don't condone yelling and screaming at employees. We don't include, swearing in town hall. There could be other little kids around there. So this is meant to be put in each one of the offices as to what the expectation is on both sides of the coin. We did have an issue recently in town hall where we had where some issues had to be addressed from citizens coming in. And this is a way of just putting down the expectations that the board has of the citizens and also you have of us as the employees. And it creates a harmonious workplace for everybody as well.
And what are the repercussions if somebody doesn't abide by the visitor's code of conduct?
Then they will be asked to leave town hall.
Okay.
I mean, it's really, when you become disruptive and start yelling and screaming, then you are not allowing the employees to do their business. You become disruptive to the other employees, and we will ask you to leave the premise.
It also mentions here, repeated violations may result in a permanent suspension of facility privileges. Now, that's an extreme.
That is an extreme, and I hope we
That-
never get to that point. This is usually just a one step, and once people realize what the expectations are, then we should be okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve has been seconded for Visitors Code of Conduct to be posted within each department.
Correct.
Further discussion?
I'll just make I was involved, I heard about this latest situation, and I just want to make sure that folks out there realize that any clerical people or secretarial people we have in town hall are messengers. They're carrying the message. They're not making a decision, so they shouldn't have to be the brunt of a fight or argument or anything else. So, this code of conduct I welcome.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, also, it's just common decency.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Town of Carver employee expense reimbursement procedure, is that actually something we're considering?
We have two policies that the town accountant has sent out in the past, and there was some confusion as to whether or not these are being followed townwide, so I figured the best way to make sure this is done is for the Board of Selectmen to endorse the reimbursement policies that the town accountant has put together for a financial procedures process.
So we have one Town of Carver general expense reimbursement process and Town of Carver employee expense
Correct.
reimbursement procedure. Is it safe to say that these follow standard accounting
They do.
principles?
And they were put together by a town accountant a year ago.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just wanted to ask Michael also, aren't these essentially state requirements that we're just kind of codifying?
The state doesn't necessarily get into procedure. Some of these tie into procedure. The expectation is that she needs to have receipts. She wants to have, if you're traveling, she wants to have a MapQuest or a Google map, saying, okay, I did go 26.2 miles. And it's backup for that. So it's making sure the backup is there. And so when the accountant receives a request, there's a full package. And if there's not a full package, then she's going to start returning it back to the employee and say, you've had the procedures for a long time, just follow them, because otherwise you're taking time out of our day for us going back and figuring out what you're missing.
So I guess what I should have said was, obviously, these are details that are not in some state book, but the requirement that there be proof that the service was rendered before whatever the service was paid for is certainly, it's just a requirement. We're not making it up, so.
That's correct. When you see your attached proof of payment, a copy of canceled check, front and back.
Yeah, they're all standard.
I think to Sarah's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, also on the employee reimbursement, as far as mileage, I believe those are IRS requirements also, that you always have to go with the lesser mileage.
Yeah, I think to Sarah's point, that there are certain rules that need to be followed or set down, but for instance, for mileage to get reimbursed, if you're going to and from your place of employment, normally that's not reimbursable unless it's over 50 miles. But if you go to your place of employment, then go somewhere and then return to your place of employment, some of those are deductible. We have to follow those rules and guidelines for IRS purposes.
And like there's one here, if you have to do out-of-state travel, the federal government has a whole nationwide per diem rates that they use.
Yeah.
So this just piggybacks on that, so there's clarity.
So do you need a motion on this?
You know what, I would like the board to endorse, support, approve the town accountant's reimbursement policies that have been enacted for a while, but again, I just want to raise it up to a level so it's clear
Got it.
that these have to be done.
I'll
And this
make
is for
that
the purpose of the employee expense and general expense.
That is correct.
procedures.
I'll make a motion on both, to endorse both of these employee expense reimbursement procedure and the general expense reimbursement procedure.
And I'll second for purpose of discussion, these are town-wide policies.
That is
Affects
correct.
all employees of the town.
And commissions and boards, yep.
Yep.
And I guess, I think to Alan's point, so the schools are required to follow the same policies?
All school bills have to go through the town accountant's office following the same procedures, that is correct. Which follow state and federal standards too.
Further discussion? There being none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, thank you. And am I missing anything? Was that the last one?
One more thing is the quarry policy, which is in your packet. And this was a recommendation of our town council that the town needs to adopt the Board of Selectmen need to formally adopt a quarry acknowledgement form and quarry
quarry.
policy.
Okay. This one.
Okay.
And this was prepared by town council for the town's protection.
I make a motion that we approve the
Oh, here it is.
criminal offender record information acknowledgement form.
I
Aye.
second.
Further discussion? Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Do we want to go ahead and, I assume if there have been no changes to the blog policy, the blogging policy, that we could approve that,
Yep.
if it's the same wording that we
It's the
had in
same
place.
wording, standard policy, correct.
It's a pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the blogging code of
Second.
conduct.
Further discussion? Those in favor please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. That, okay with approving policies? Okay, request for appointment to the Business Development Commission, Jacqueline Gingrich and Heidi Gregory Mina? And I'm guessing you're Heidi? And I'm guessing you're Jacqueline. Would you like to come up to the table, please? I guess we'll start with Jacqueline as to what your interest is in being appointed to the Business Development Commission.
I have been a small business owner in Carver for 3.5 years. I moved here specifically to purchase the small business and have since made it my home, have started my family here, and I have a very vested interest in Carver growing yet maintaining its charm. I love Carver. I will never live anywhere else. I have lived in 6 states across the country, and this is my home. And I want to see it grow, but I don't want to see it change too much.
Okay, thank you. Heidi, would you like to say something?
I think you stole all my words.
Pull the microphone right up. It doesn't pick up unless you're right there at it.
So very similarly, my husband and I moved to Carver a couple of years ago. We've been living here. We just recently got approved to start our business here in Carver. And I'm just looking to give back to the community and be part of the community that we've grown to know and love.
Why don't you both do a little advertising? What are your businesses in Carver?
I'm opening the Dog Mall at 174 Plymouth Street.
And I own a Shady Acres campground off of Tremont on Shoestring Road.
Great. Questions from the board?
Great experience. I make a motion to approve both Heidi and Jacqueline.
I'll second that motion.
Further discussion?
Welcome aboard.
Well, that
There
was
being
easy.
none, those in favor say aye.
Congratulations.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you very much. We really appreciate your interest, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
if we can ever be of any assistance, don't hesitate to
Thank you.
contact us.
Thank you.
All right, budget transfers.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, the budget transfers, we had a meeting with the Finance Committee last week. They did a reserve fund transfer for 3 departments that were in deficit. That included the Veteran Services and our plumbing and electrical inspector. We've had a lot more permits for the plumbing and electrical than we anticipated. That being said, what the town accountant and I have decided to do is to wait to our meeting in July. We will need to have a meeting on July 13th with the Finance Committee, a special meeting just to do any last-minute transfers that will have to happen. Any of the transfers we're anticipating at that time will be in small dollar amounts, with the exception of the snow and ice. So far, things are moving along pretty well, and we don't see any major issues. So with that, I will need to also have a meeting on July 13th.
With the Board of Selectmen and the FinCom at the same
Correct.
time, okay?
I won't be here, but you can,
That means there'll probably be 3 of us then, because...
How do you know my vacation schedule?
Because I listened to you. You already told us when you were gonna be
wait a
gone.
minute. I might be here. Hold on a
creepy.
second. It's the week of the 4th on, hold on.
All right, well, anyway, we'll have,
July 13th,
Yes, Monday, July 13th.
I think I will be here.
you're anticipating a final meeting on the 13th,
Correct.
okay?
I will be here.
Did you say you're holding off on approving these now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Plymouth County Advisory Board appointment.
Okay.
Thank you.
As I recall, who was that? Okay.
I have no problem
Would you-
serving again, unless somebody else wants to experience it. It's quite a,
I make a motion, we nominate Helen for that position.
Oh, I'll second that.
Further discussion? Those in favor say aye, those
Aye.
opposed, the ayes have it.
New sheriff.
He moves away from you?
our next meeting is this Thursday.
Corey policy, we already took care of?
Yep.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes. And the visitors code of conduct and the reimbursement policy.
And the blogger.
Disband the Police and Fire Building Committee and the Pond Committee.
Yes, this is a house cleaning item. You had a presentation from the governance committee back in April, and they went through and reviewed all different committees in town, made some suggestions on consolidating some committees, which we did at town meeting. And these were 2 committees that were no longer meeting and that they had advised the Board of Selectmen to disband. And again, it needs a formal vote of the board to do that. As it relates to the Police and Fire Building Committee, as many recall, there was a point in time where we were looking at building a combined police and fire facility, and then that committee was looking at the 2 different facilities. At some point, we will need to create a police station building committee, but we do need to we're not ready to do that yet, but we don't need a joint committee anymore because the fire station committee is already taking care of the fire station. So just like we created a fire station committee, we'll have to create a police building committee at some point in time.
But when do we plan on doing that?
Um,
I don't want the police, I mean, that's just as important as any of the other infrastructures in this town that need dire help, so.
Yeah, I've actually talked to the police chief
Yeah.
about that, and it's a little bit of a ways off because we got the fire station going. It's gonna be,
Yeah.
but he's in agreement that we really, within a year or 2, we really need to put that committee together, give them a 5-year window to start working on things, to put together what they're gonna need.
So he's in agreement to disband this and then start up a new one when we're
Yes.
ready?
Yeah, and quite honestly, I think maybe in the spring, maybe after town meeting,
Yeah.
we'll start to take a look at that, maybe before, but sometime in the next year, we've got to get the fire station out of here
Yeah.
and then start to look at the options.
Okay.
So if I may, I have a question about the Pond Committee. I know it's a very old committee, it's been around for a long time. Has anyone, presumably people have talked to the members of that committee? Or?
I know that the governance committee reached out and had mailings to every committee that had members on it,
Okay.
and this was one that was, as you said, old.
So they didn't get a response?
So maybe there's no members.
I think that's where it ended up being, but it's on the books.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, we're just trying to clean up the record, you know, we have so many committees in town that and less volunteers, we're trying to make sure that we can get those volunteers on committees that are active.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we disband the Police and Fire Building Committee and the Pond Committee.
Second that motion?
Further discussion?
I have one more thing, though. It would be nice to know, I know that originally the pond committee posted regulations about what could and couldn't happen on various ponds. Well, at least the 2 ponds that have public access. Is there any way we can figure out who's going to be supervising that sort of thing now?
My understanding that's a Board of Health responsibility under the state law, under Chapter 111.
Oh, okay.
Could you double check on that for us and just
Yeah.
leave a note in our
Yeah.
packets as to whether that's the case?
We'll make sure that they're doing it.
Just so there's not a vacuum in terms of
Disconnect.
who's responsible for it.
And it may be a combination with the rec committee too.
Yeah.
All right.
And Sarah, you're talking more from a health standard, make sure that the water's safe and posting
Well,
allowed to swim and stuff.
Talking about,
partly
ri-
that,
yeah,
but partly
rules.
rules, behavior,
All rules.
no hot dogging. Nobody
Okay.
pays any attention to that.
Talk to the rec.
And there are reasons for that, public safety reasons, aquatic life
Pond
reasons,
rules, when we can swim.
so.
Did we vote on that?
No, we haven't voted
We
yet.
have a
Had motion and
first
second?
and a
We had
second.
the motion and second.
Further discussion? Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it. Request to transfer funds to supplement multiple departments.
Table, we just discussed that earlier.
Okay.
That's the July 13th.
Fire station building update.
Yes, the bids are out. They're in the next room if you want to take a look at them. Big stack of bids and specs. We did extend the bidding date because the due date was falling right around the 4th of July. And also, there was another project that was due the day before ours, so we wanted to, and it would have the same competitive bidders, so we wanted to make sure there's a little spread between that. So I believe final bids will be due July 22nd. And we will hopefully be making an award shortly thereafter. I will say as an update that in our final estimate that was done by 2 estimators, that the project did come in budget.
Oh, good.
So there were some changes that were made. Once we got more detailed in some of the plans and the designs, it did come in budget. Now, again, that's 2 professional estimators based upon what market trends are doing on different per square foot costs for different units. What the bids come in, can go higher or lower than that, but at least from a professional estimating standpoint, we're on target.
And none of the bids will be open until the 22nd.
Correct. There's a process of sub-bids, then the final contractor bid, but the final bids will be done on July 22nd.
Excellent, thank you. Approval of House Notes bonding discussion, advance in lieu of borrowing.
Yes, so we have 2 items here, and one is, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we're moving forward with the bonding, and we received very favorable results on our bonding rates. That came in at, and I'm gonna find the paper in a second, but I'm gonna recall that it's 0.55% was the low bidder for our bonds. And this is in the amount of $2 million to take us through, to cover us for the purchase of the new fire engines and also for a portion of the fire station. Now, this is only temporary bonding, it's bond anticipation notes. The reason why we're doing it this way is because we didn't want to go out for permanent financing until we got the fire station underway, and we have our final bids in, we've awarded the contract, and then we can go out and do a larger permanent bond offering, which will also then trigger a new rating for the town. So by doing it this way, it's a temporary borrowing, a bond anticipation note, that doesn't require a bond rating, because it's temporary in the short term. Once we turn this into permanent financing is when we're gonna do our bond rating. The advantage to that is that'll close out our FY15 year. The money that we put into our stabilization fund will show up on the books. The money that we have set aside for our capital will show up on the books. The additional money we have in our OPEB will show up on the books. And as a result of that, all of these these positive things should impact us in a future bond rating. So with that, we do have some documents that Lynn needs to oversee you signing. And again, the bank that was the low bidder on this one was Cape Cod 5 and Cent Savings. It's in the amount of $2 million, and it's payable on September 25th. So we will be coming back to do permanent financing before then. So I will need a vote to authorize awarding this bond in the amount of $2 million to Cape Cod 5 and Cents.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Further discussion? There being none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
There's multiple pages you need to sign, so I'm going to pass those around.
Lynn, do you need to personally observe these signatures?
And we all have to sign these.
While you're doing that, as you recall, for FY14, we did a bond, an advance in lieu of borrowing authorization from the board where we're able to borrow from our stabilization fund. This will pay part of that back for some of the work done for the fire station. So that takes care of FY15. What I have for authorization from you is to authorize 2 advanced funds in lieu of borrowing in the amount of $1 million and one of $155,000. The $1 million will be used for cash flow to get the fire station project moving forward until we can go out to permanent financing, and the $155,000 will be to complete the repairs and the equipment purchases for the 3 new fire engines. So in essence, what we do is we borrow this out of our stabilization fund. Come July 1st, we'll have $1.8 million in there. And, obviously this saves the town money because we're not going out through any type of external financing. We're borrowing from ourselves. But I would need a vote on those 2 items from the board.
It's the pleasure of the board.
Make that motion?
Second.
Further discussion? Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Can I just have 2 sets of these signed?
2 sets.
Yep.
Yep. Where are we signing? Right where it says approved?
Yes. Right on those lines.
Is that the last of the notes and borrowing?
That is correct.
While we're signing, did you want to give us an update on the playground?
You know what, I'm gonna let Sarah give the update on the playground.
All right.
Very
If
good.
You
would like
sign and
to.
update at the same time?
I'm not sure that I can. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, well, we've started work on the playground, the upgrades and repairs. The signs are being worked on as we speak. They're not up yet. We have new sand in the sandbox. We moved the handicapped accessible digger to make it closer to the sandbox. And for those who wonder why it isn't digging in the sandbox, it's so that a wheelchair can actually approach it. It needs to be where it is. But we brought it out into the more centralized area. You go ahead and sign. I'll get to it in a minute. One of the new spinners has been installed. We are probably getting a second very similar spinner for standing up on. The water line has been actually installed. And I have to say, when I say we, I really mean John Woods and his DPW crew and Jerry Farquharson and his Buildings and Grounds crew. I just basically was taking pictures. But it's very exciting. They put the form on the ground for putting the concrete pad around the water structure. So that should be coming in.
My granddaughter would like to know when she'll be able to
I
go play
realize
there.
that, and I know she wants to know about the seesaw as well.
Yes.
We're waiting on the playground company. They need to send us springs, so if you
When
want to
can
make a
she get
call,
spritzed in the water?
as soon as possible. Tell her, I'll let her mother know.
Why don't you tell her that?
Okay, I will.
Because that's not going to be an acceptable answer for her.
I know. It's really coming along. We're gonna get, the fence person is coming to give us another estimate for the fencing around the water structure, because it's been 2 years, and it's probably not gonna be exactly what it was then, but that's fine. Anything else?
No, but it's operational now, except
It
for
i-
a couple pieces that need to be
Right.
done.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
there had been some concerns expressed about possible danger to people playing there. That's all addressed?
That's been addressed. There are a couple of little structures have been roped off. It's extremely clear, the caution tape, orange cones, and all those,
Those will all be repaired?
all those items are being reordered.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, 15 years, some things
Yep.
break, but.
No, and I'm amazed driving by there. It is
well, we
and
get a lot of use
my
out of it.
daughter, the grandkids are there all the time. It's just great.
I have to say, it is a great playground.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will be going over to look.
Okay. Well, hopefully the playground committee will have some sort of event, and maybe you guys
Okay.
can come, just to
Yeah,
sort of,
yeah.
because I think there are a lot of businesses, and as well as families and individuals in town that really didn't get their horns blown for all the
There should be some
donations.
gala
and-
event for the opening of the water feature.
Absolutely,
Yes.
yes. And your
I
daughter
might
can
even myself get
preside.
spritzed
Okay.
at that time.
We
Should
can
be
get a
fun.
dunk
Pay
tank,
with that.
Ron.
That would be
That should be
horrifying,
fun.
wouldn't it?
No, no, it's only 10 seconds, Ron.
What a
so-
great fundraiser that would be.
Yeah, yeah. All the
Anyway.
kids
Fritz, the
scream,
selectmen.
all the kids screaming and running away in horror.
Michael,
Yeah.
you might want to take over now, so.
Wouldn't that be great?
Are we losing control?
We're losing.
And
All
did,
right.
Michael, do you have anything else to add to the playground?
I do not.
All right.
I do have one other thing under town administrator update. We did have a resignation of our part-time building inspector. Mary did resign and has taken another position. We have hired a new individual to assist Bob Francis. So we already had Bob Francis, who was a part-time building inspector working for us along with Mary. And now we're adding Rich Morgan. He's going to be starting on Thursday. There's going to be some limited involvement for him because he has some planned vacation, but he'll be starting full-time during early July. And Bob has been a building inspector in Hingham, in Mashpee, and several other towns in the past. So he has plenty of experience.
I'm sorry, Michael, so you mean he'll be coming back, but it's not a full-time position? You said he'll be starting full-time, but I think you meant he'll be with us.
Full-time, part-time.
Okay, right.
Full-time, part-time.
Okay, we're at the selectmen comment period. Alan, we'll kick it off with you.
Okay, first off, I want to congratulate all the graduating seniors. They finished off the first part of their education, now they're moving on, and I want to wish them all the best, and congratulations to their parents, because no student graduates without a lot of support from the parents, too. I also would like to bring forth 3 items I would like to see on the agenda of the joint Board of Selectmen and School Committee meeting in July that we have scheduled. First one would be discussion and possible vote of the town administrator or her designee to be part of any union negotiations on contracts. The second item, which would be a discussion with possible vote, would be the formation of an ad hoc committee to investigate pros and cons of town-wide facilities versus town facilities and school facilities. The makeup of the board and what that commission would be tasked to do would be decided on by the members of the school committee and the Board of Selectmen. And then the third item I'd like to see put on the agenda is for, again, discussion and vote, possible vote, is the moving of health benefits to a town-wide account as opposed to separate ones for the town and the school committee.
Okay,
Thank
I
you very
will-
much.
I'll coordinate that with the chair of the school committee.
Appreciate that.
All right, Sarah.
Thank you. I just wanted to let the public know that the Young People's Alliance of Carver, YPAC for short, our youth center located at the middle high school, has finished its classes, its after-school programs for the year. However, we're doing 3 summer programs, and registration for 3 weeks during the summer, week-long programs, sort of 2 weeks between each session. And registration day for that is Saturday, June 27th from 12 to 2 p.m. There'll be a barbecue. If anyone's interested or has children they'd like to register. And folks can also register online at ypacinc@gmail.com.
Thank you. Helen?
Oh, I'm next. Okay, a couple of things. The Carver Sportsman's Club has asked me to announce, their upcoming boating safety course, that will be taking place Friday, June 19th through Sunday, June 21st. Bob, do you wanna shed any light on that?
I didn't go to last meeting.
Okay, that's okay. It's gonna be different sessions on knowing your boat before you get underway. There'll be a film on the reasons people drown, operating your boat safely, the legal requirements of boating, et cetera, et cetera. And, if you're interested, you can email lazydays4@verizon.net. That's LAZYDAZE, the number 4@verizon.net. And again, the class is gonna be held Friday, June 19th in the evening, Saturday, 8 AM to 12, then Sunday, June 21st from 9 to 12. I also wanted to mention that mobilizing the community in terms of promoting, helping out with the drug epidemic in this town is going strong, and there will be another meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 PM. And the following meeting, because we won't be here, will be Wednesday, July 15th, both being held at the Carver Public Library. And on June 24th, we just had a great forum for the drug epidemic, with a great group of panelists, and it was very well received, and it was heart-inspiring listening to recovering addicts, some from our very own town, that were willing to open up. So if this next forum that I'm gonna mention to you is anything like this one, you've gotta go. Whether your family has been impacted with the drug issues, we're all touched in so many ways with it. So on Wednesday, June 24th at 7 PM at the Carver High School, Middle High School, Dr. Hill is going to be coming to present the impact on marijuana and what it does to affect your brain. So I encourage everybody to attend that.
What's that date again?
It's Wednesday, June 24th at 7 PM. And I also congratulate the graduating seniors this year. I have to say, this was my 4th year attending, and I am amazed at the high school valedictorians, salutatorians who speak. They are unbelievable. I get inspired by their conversations and just the kids that are graduating. And last but not least, I had asked for the Board of Selectmen / school committee meeting to put 2 items on the agenda, but one of them is gonna be covered in your formation of an ad hoc committee. But the other one is, I would like to discuss Common Core and their current feelings towards it, and what Carver, if we should be reassessing our thoughts on Common Core based on what's going on in the state. The State Board of Education is going around getting opinions from the educators, and there's a lot of backlash on Common Core, so I would like to have a nice conversation with the school committee on that. We had mentioned it when we talked about Common Core in respect to the textbooks, that a few of us felt that we should be discussing this, so.
I'll have that added on.
Yep, and thank you, and happy 4th of July to everybody. Happy Independence Day.
Dick?
Okay. I too would like to congratulate all our graduates, including Old Colony. We had a great group of kids this year, 2015, in both schools. The community drug program tomorrow night is a very important group that is working towards drug programs steady through the next months. Now, the 24th meeting that Helen just referred to is, I am told, is a very, very informative meeting, because this Dr. Hill speaks about marijuana and how it affects people at different ages and how it affects brain cells and so on in kids and then as people get older. And, of course, we are coming up to probably a vote in our state as to whether we will allow recreational marijuana. I mean, somebody and some group's gonna petition our state for that. And so this kind of information is very important, and if you can come and bring some kids that can benefit and listen, because I'm told that this Dr. Hill does an outstanding job of spelling it out so kids understand. So that is an extremely important night.
He's a phenomenal speaker. I've seen him speak.
Is he, okay, so I'm gonna try to bring a couple of my grandkids, yeah. Anyway, and then we have the Fireman's Clam Bake coming in the end of the month, and then July 4th, and my wife's mom is gonna celebrate her 100th birthday, July 4th.
Wow.
Wow.
So, that's a momentous point in our family. Okay.
And there's Old Home Day.
We'll get to that next time.
Okay, thank you, that's it.
Wow.
All right, I just have a couple of things. One is to remind everyone that we are being filmed tonight by Area 58 Community Access Media, and I suspect at our July meeting that we will be able to unveil our new logo, which has been anticipated.
There'll be Martians on it?
Great.
Sorry.
Um,
Can't resist.
I also wanted to mention that we had discussed having sort of a mini financial summit in July. An informal session, no full boards there, so it doesn't have to be scheduled as a public meeting, although the public's welcome to be there. But basically, just to review the timetables that we have to get things done. There's general agreement that we want to make sure we don't have our, poor Elaine Xeroxing 300 copies of things the day of copying, the day of town meeting, and that we'd like to get this finished up a month ahead of time. So the idea of this was just a very informal meeting, interested members of the board, FinCom, other financial departments. Just pick a date, some evening, very casual, to sort of get a timetable set up that we could then maybe approve at the August meeting and have everything in place. I think, we pulled off a minor miracle by being able to vote prior to the election this year, but I think, every process can be improved, and I think we want to eliminate some of the last-minute nature that necessarily came up, partly just because it was a new process, and departments and people had to adjust to it. So I want to take some of the pain out of the process, if at all possible. Also, just something to think about for next meeting, I'd like to get it on the agenda, is revisiting our rules on public comment. I think that it might be asking a lot of our citizens to have to sit through an entire selectmen's meeting. It almost seems like, unreasonable punishment to sit through an entire meeting before being able to speak to a topic that they'd like to bring up. So I'd like to suggest perhaps considering returning that to the start of the meeting. And then we can also add in if someone wants to speak to the agenda at the same time. Whether or not we need a second public period at the end, we can discuss at the same time. So I just want to put it out there for conversation purposes anyway. It just seems that we've had some poor people sit here through some of our meetings, and, I think sometimes it's a challenge. And then, I guess, beyond that, I would just want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day coming up. All the dads out there, Father's Day is coming up on Sunday. Also, a happy 4th of July to everyone. We won't be meeting before then. And then finally, just another thank you to Dick for the job he's done over the past year as chair. It's really been a steady hand at a time when we needed a steady hand. Dick, I think, is one of the most respected individuals we have in town, and so I think having him as chair, I know I'm going to miss him as chair. Anyway, just thank you, Dick. Appreciate it.
Thank you to the whole board, to the whole board, and our administrator and our assistant administrator. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
And for the community putting up with it.
Mr. Chair, could I add one quick thing?
Absolutely.
I forgot to say that the farmer's market is now in full swing, started on Sunday. And we have largely Mr. Ward to thank for our farmers market. He established the Agricultural Commission and the right to farm bylaw. He got that through town meeting for us, and the farmers market too, I think. So that's in full swing every Sunday from 12 noon to 4 p.m.
Okay, great, thank you. Next item, Bill Duggan, taxes in the community. If you can keep it under half an hour, we'd appreciate it.
Bill Duggan, 285 Meadow Street. It's been sort of a long process getting right here tonight. Been in town probably 30 years, not new to anybody. Taxes have gone up every year. A year or so ago, mine went up $600, and that sort of opened my eyes and started to think, ask a lot of questions. You know, how much is enough? How much is enough? You know, from the taxpayer's pocket can you take? And started thinking about, you know, the whole situation about taxes. A friend of mine, a woman up the street I've done work for, she's moving out of town because she can't afford to pay taxes. This is the kind of person, in my mind, you know, you want to stay in the community. I know we had 2 people here that just moved in, but I think that it seems like this type of person, as well as the other group, people who have paid into the system 10, 15 years, all their lives, and then reaching the age of retirement, should be given some special consideration in my mind. So I'm thinking, I'd be happy to be part of any discussion of how to deal with this and not have people feel like they're forced to leave the community.
You speaking specifically like for seniors?
Seniors, but also this particular person I'm thinking of, who's not a senior, single mom, trying to raise her daughter in town, grew up here, living in her parents' house, and the amount of time that she has spent divesting herself of things to move to Ohio, where a friend of hers lives. To be a little bit, you know, maybe harder to determine those type of people that something could be done for than a senior citizen, someone who reaches 65 and you know, I have some ideas in my mind, but and I know at a forum, candidate forum a couple of years ago, when you guys and Andy were running, someone had stood up and asked what you know, what could be done for the senior citizens and stuff, and there's a lot of positive comments, but you know, I'm not aware of anything, you know, being done specifically to help lessen the burden of someone who has spent all their life contributing to the system, and then getting to a point in their life when they should be, maybe they're not as, you know, as wealthy as we'd all like to be, but, you know, having to struggle to come up with, you know, the money every year.
So you're thinking the creation of some sort of committee that could explore ideas? I mean, I think what we do have some programs where seniors can work at the
Senior
town
write-off.
hall in lieu of
Yep.
taxes, that sort of thing. But you're saying beyond that, is there anything else we can do to try to eliminate a hardship by finding, just investigate what other ideas there might be that can, to work with them?
I'm aware of the work, you know, program, but it seems like having someone who gets to that point in their life, having to take an hour out of their time or $1 more out of their pocket is taking away some of the freedom to do maybe other things that they would like to do. My thought is that when a person gets to the age of, you know, say 65 or 70, they're ready to retire, that you fix that their amount of taxes being taken out is fixed. And they say, it's like saying thank you, not, you know, eliminate the tax debt, but to fix the amount. And then maybe when they get to like 70, that amount is decreased. This is just a thought that I've had. But
No,
something that encourages people, or gives people encouragement that they're not going to be, that more money is not going to be taken out of their pocket for the rest of their lives.
But again, not necessarily focused on seniors, possibly people of limited income.
Yep.
Is there something that could be worked out for them as well?
I haven't talked to this person that I'm referring to about if she didn't have to have more money taken out of her pocket, savings every year, if that would have been enough to stay, if the amount of taxes she had to pay was fixed at a certain amount. that, that would have been enough, you know? I mean, she's still contributing and things, but I think just something that we can look at the other part of the community. I know all the work that's done during the budget time of the year. I mean, I just can't believe the amount of effort that goes into that. It's for the town, it has to be done, but there is another whole portion of the community that is just, I don't think necessarily thought of, except, you know, like you were saying, somebody comes in and works, they can work off some of the time, but to me, that's taking time away when maybe they could be spending playing golf, going fishing, or doing something else, you know.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're aware, it gets a little touchy because there are some people that have a legitimate need, and then you always have to worry about people that might take advantage of a
Yep.
situation that don't actually qualify. So it gets a little,
That's, yeah, I mean, a senior citizen thing would be pretty easy to
Right.
define. The other, I understand, would have to be, and how do you determine that? You know?
so if we put
I
a
could recommend that woman for, because I know her, but, you know, maybe
Yeah,
other
you're
people,
talking
but
to
yeah,
Jim.
I agree, yeah.
But if we put a committee together like that, you'd be
yeah.
interested in being involved?
Sure.
Okay, can we put that on the agenda for discussion and possibly, well, I guess we can sort of ask for anyone that might be interested, but I think that's a good idea, and there have to be some ideas in other communities. I'm sure we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We probably, by talking to other communities, can find ways to,
It seems like there's a local radio station I listen to a lot down in the Cape, and people calling in and complaining about the same type of situation, you know, that money is constant, you know, just more money. So if Carver could come up with some plan that maybe other people would look and say,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's my
I think it's a great idea. I mean, we just had two people here talking about how much they love being in the
Right.
town of Carver.
right.
And it'd be a shame to have people leave that don't want to leave. So
People-
we should explore whatever we can to try to
Yep.
work out a circumstance where people can stay.
Well, like I say, this woman grew up in Carver. Her family's here. She's living in the family house, and now, and specifically, she told me, she said, I can't afford to be here anymore. So I mean, she's, like I say, it's just sad to see all the stuff that she's divesting herself of.
Yep. No, I think
make
that's
the
a great
move.
idea.
It would be nice if someday we could help everybody and not go to the 2.5% increase every single bit.
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I
budget
understand.
season. That-
Yeah, understand the need.
That
There's
would
the running of the town, but there's a whole
Yeah.
other group of people out there.
It's
that-
hard.
When there are hardships,
Yep.
it'd be nice to find a way to accommodate people that have a legitimate hardship.
Right.
You know, if someone's
Determining that is.
taking $1 million a year and they're 70 years old, they don't necessarily need the same break that
Right.
somebody else
I
needs.
mean, I think having it available, but they can always just cut a check to the town if they don't feel they want to take it. But I think that
Yeah.
people get to a certain age and want to, you know, in my mind, just, we're done. Not that they're not paying, but
Dick?
Yeah, I'm 75 next month.
Don't go, this isn't,
I was thinking of you specifically.
No, but I mean, if you I project the increases on taxes on my house over the next 10 years, if I live to be 85. At 85, my taxes have gone up huge. And I will be saying, I don't know if what I have for income now is gonna do it when I'm 85. You know, so, I'm in.
and I'm suspicious that and I don't know at all, but I'm suspicious that the percentage of the population that falls into that elderly category, were we to freeze, or as you suggest, or something, wouldn't have that dire a financial impact on our tax collections. If all you're talking about is freezing it at a certain amount, so you're only missing the difference between what it would have gone up and so forth. But again,
Yep.
we're jumping ahead, but I just think it's a great idea to explore,
Yep.
both for citizens beneath the age of, that aren't seniors, but also for seniors as well.
Yep. The second part of that, just to throw it out there, is that say you pick 65 as the time to freeze it, that when they get, I know that maybe I already mentioned it, but when they get to 70, that the amount is decreased, so that every
that
year
would be
it's
another-
decreased, so that eventually, and not totally wiped off the board, it's down to, 1,000, 1,500, so they're still kicking into the system.
Dick's gonna wanna get grandfathered in at this point. So, let's be careful
Oh,
on these
right.
ideas.
I don't know how many people have sold their homes and gone into like South Meadow Village or Cranberry Village or one of the mobile home parks.
I don't know.
you know, because it's less overhead for you to get along with it.
Well, sometimes it's less house too, so I mean, it depends
Yeah,
what the
yeah,
reason-
well,
reasons
for a
are.
variety of reasons.
Sure. No, it's great, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you very much.
So we get that for the agenda item? Town administrators' goals and objectives.
We're gonna have a meeting on that?
Pardon me?
We're gonna have a meeting on that
No.
later? No?
Nope,
Oh,
we're
we
gonna-
already got it.
We've been talking about this for
Yep.
about 5 months, and we finally got it on the agenda to basically try to come up with ideas for what we want the town administrator to focus on, in addition to everything else that he's responsible for. And for instance, I guess I'll just jump out, for me, and I don't think it should be a list of 20 things, I think it should be just several things that should be focused on. For me, regionalization, reaching out to other local cities and towns and finding out what services that we provide, that they provide, that possibly we could consider regionalizing those services. It may not apply to everything, you know, but if there's some way where something that cost us 100% suddenly only cost us 50%, it's a way of savings. I mean, with the new fiscal realities we have, where new personal property, new growth goes now to the capital stabilization fund, the operating budget's very pinched. So every dollar we can save in the operating budget is a dollar that can go towards a needed service within town. So I have no idea, I know the state actually has a book about regionalizing, but I think reaching out to local cities and towns around us and finding out what makes sense, what could be done.
Whether it's good to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, we may come out and say it's not worth it, but I think
It
it's
may
great.
turn out that Plimpton and Halifax have a good regional mix, but it doesn't necessarily apply to us. But I think it's worthwhile exploring regionalization. The other thing, the second thing that I would like to see him focus on is revenue, finding new sources of revenue. As wild as selling water to a local community that needs water, because we sit in one of the largest aquifers in the state, to, taking a look back at CMAS, is there anything else going on down there? Whatever, but just, again, as opposed to, we talked about increasing taxes, are there other sources of revenue that we can cultivate or tap into? So for me, regionalization and revenue are the two things I would like to put at the top of the town administrator's objectives for 2015, fiscal 2016, I guess we're talking.
Wouldn't you like to add finding revenue without, negative effects on the town?
Well, I guess for me, that would be, I mean.
Goes without saying.
I've thrown out before that if we were ever willing to store nuclear waste, that we could probably have rebates to all the homeowners in town. They wouldn't pay taxes, we'd give them $10,000-15,000 apiece.
And there goes your aquifer.
But, well, we would lose the aquifer then, but that would be an example of like revenue that would not be good for the town.
Correct.
But
Just
I
wanna
think we
get
have to
that
be
out there.
open to, a bunch of things. But yes, for me, that's a given, that I wouldn't want it to, survey after survey, we're trying to keep the character of the town, so that whatever it might be would be something that, doesn't negatively impact the town.
Were there any more, sort of personnel management goals?
Well, it's whatever, this is whatever, I mean, I know that we're talking about possibly the governance committee starting up again in the fall, if they want to, at which point in time we could have some input with them, asking them what to explore, because that's sort of they were sort of the origin of a lot of the thought process.
With what we put on Michael's plate last year, I think we should be sensible this year, especially because we're building, with the school, Dick is saying how involved the building school committee is and everything, and the time that's involved with that. So, I mean,
Well, that's one of,
these
one
are
of the
two
things
big
that I was gonna
ones.
say is one of Michael's goals is to continue to
Yeah.
work with the school building committee and the finances and MSBA.
right.
And that is a sizable project that we know
It's
we're gonna be
huge.
dealing with for another year.
Anyone else?
And to do so in such a way that we all improve our communication skills.
This is with the school building committee.
Or
Excuse me?
That was with the school building committee?
No, you, not that, you do that. I meant as one of the goals and objectives,
Oh,
Oh, just
just in general.
communications, yep.
Yeah.
Alan?
Along with the regionalization, I think I'd really like to see Michael still trying to formulate ways that we can streamline the operations of the town to be, so it runs more efficiently, but we don't lose any of the services that our residents need. But if we can streamline things, and that goes along the line with regionalization, investigation, things like that. Just so basically we work smarter.
And that, again, I think is where the governance committee comes into play. Michael sits with them, and, so that would be in keeping with that as well, so. Anyone else?
This is good.
Isn't one of the governance committee's goals to start working on all the bylaws of the town, Michael?
Well, we have to reestablish them.
Yeah, we've got to.
If they can be convinced to return.
Yep. So streamline operations, regionalization, new sources of revenue, and continue on with the school building committee. And working with them, and communicating.
All while communicating.
While communicating well.
Schmoozing.
Yeah, you should have been
I wouldn't say
smoozing
that,
102 by now.
All right, Lane, do you have those? Have you captured those? Is someone want to make a motion that those will be passed along to the town administrator as his objectives for fiscal 16?
I will make that motion.
I
There's
will
a second? Further discussion? Those in favor, please
Just,
signify by.
why don't we
Oh,
write that up for the chairman to approve, because we'll put some wording around it, so that you'll approve the final form of it.
do you want to amend your motion to say that, to authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the board?
That's
So moved.
motion.
Second.
I think you've shut out, Sarah.
That's all right.
Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Okay, School Building Committee, MSBA, and Water Well update.
Maybe I'll take the first part, and maybe I'll see if Michael will talk about the well update. We had a meeting last night of the building committee. Everybody, well, we had one member wasn't there, but everybody pretty much was there. The three architects, the three people from the project managing group, and we reviewed, we reviewed the visit that a contingent of the building committee and some teachers and some department heads made to the Krista McAuliffe School in New Hampshire, in Concord. Some pictures, and they did talk a lot about the collaborative learning process that HMF has in mind when they're working towards the compartments and components of that school. It was a good review of that visit. We'd like to see more pictures of the actual school. The next part of our meeting was the fact that MSBA accepted feasibility plans and everything to this point. And from here on, now, they're working on the schematic designs, so we've started that. So as a part of that process, we've gone to 2 meetings a month, so that we can meet every 2 weeks with the architects and the project managers and go over any of the changes and adjustments and plans and details that they go into for that project, which will be an interesting process, because we have to balance the educational plan with how much money we hope to spend or hope not to spend. That's gonna be a big factor. So our committee is pretty balanced, and I think we'll have some good discussions on each of our meetings on that process. So, let's see. The well updates, maybe Michael can describe that.
Sure, the well testing is coming back very positive. We're waiting for the final water quality testing of it.
Which well are we talking about?
This is for a new well at the new elementary school in the back left, which will most likely require a small easement on Mike Paddock's property that was approved at town meeting to give you the authorization to work with him on that. So again, that's one of those hurdles we have to overcome, but we don't see any obstacles with that. And the only thing that I'd like to add to what Mr. Ward mentioned is at the MSBA meeting, there's been some slight staff changings that have happened up there. One of the new members of the board is a former town administrator, and their new chief executive officer is also a former town administrator. And there've been, with that, there have been 2 increases in the amount of reimbursement that have happened in 3 short months. The number that we've been working with for the last year has been a $278 reimbursement rate. 2 months ago, they changed that to, I think it was $287, and at the last meeting, they changed that to $299, and they will continue to be looking at that in the early fall, which hopefully will come back and benefit us. So that increases the dollar amount that they're willing to pay for per square foot. Given the cost of inflation with the construction trade industry, they recognize the financial issues that towns are going with, and we're starting to see some positive feedback on that. So that will help us in the long run as well.
That comes to like close to 10% increase, doesn't it, over about
It should
6
add,
months?
it should certainly be, yes, when you look at what the inflation rate is, but I think that increase over the last 2 increases should save more than $1 million to $1.5 million off the project, just from them judging those dollar square footage.
All right, anything else? Okay, we'll move on to reappointments. Now, this is, I believe, are these, everything we're looking at, are these appointments that fall on the town administrator to make?
Those are posted outside for 14 days.
Pardon me?
The town administrator appointments are posted
Okay.
on our bulletin board. These are the.
These are
Selectmen-
strictly the Board of Selectmen appointments, okay.
Can you remind me what happened with Cornelius Shea applying for an appointment on the Historic Commission?
I think there wasn't an opening.
I
Wasn't
believe
that
that
tabled?
there was confusion as to whether, how many people were on the committee
Correct.
and whether it was open or not. And then I think all those committees are being reorganized based on the vote at town meeting, so that after 7/1, it's gonna be a completely different entity, isn't it?
Yeah, and there had to be, the Secretary of State has to review the warrant and all that stuff. So there's procedure stuff, is that right, Lane?
Yeah, after you had questioned it, we looked into it, and that is the right answer, is that because it went through town meeting and it's legislation,
Mm-hmm.
that we have to wait for that to come back.
Okay, and so at that point, will he be reconsidered?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, actually, we have it's like 3 or 4 committees being combined into one, correct? So everyone will have to reapply, and there'll only be so many openings for the committee at that point in time, right?
Yep, I think we'll have ample spots available.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board for the Board of Selectmen appointments? Which, by the way, for the public out there on Area 58, Community Access Media, it's the Agricultural Commission, Capital Outlay Committee, Commission on Disability, Earth Removal Commission, Historical Commission, Markwood Trustees, Old Colony Elder Services, the OCRV School Committee, Old Colony School Committee, Recreation, Regional Refuse Disposal Committee, Special Police Officer, Serpent Commission, and Serpent JTPG,
Joint Transportation Planning Group.
Joint
Transportation.
Transportation
Planning Group.
Planning Group.
And may I, one of the, Bob Belvin had mentioned requesting to hold off on one of them.
think that was
Wasn't that the
conservation.
conservation?
Conservation, but
That's-
that's
That's not even
one
on
of
this
Town
list.
administrator
Because that's a
appointment.
town administrator
Yeah.
appointment, it's not a Board of Selectmen appointment.
I just wanted to make sure that we were addressing that. Thank you.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we reappoint everyone as listed on the sheet.
Second.
Further discussion? Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Thank you. All right. Minutes, licenses, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours in advance of the meeting. We have 18 one-day special licenses for Renaissance Foods. I assume this is King Richard's Fair? And is that for alcohol? Because I see a common victualer's license following. So that's for alcohol?
One-day special licenses.
One-day specials? And these are pretty much standard, I think, that we adopt on an annual basis. It's the pleasure of the board.
And the taxes and such are all set.
I guess you'll be subject to making sure that they're up to date, up to speed on
make-
all their taxes and debts.
I make that motion.
Second.
Further discussion?
One of the concerns that has been brought up by the assessor is just to make sure with the new meals tax that was approved by the town, that get fully implemented King's Richard's Fair, because it's a cash transaction. So we just want to make sure that that's there. So I'm just alerting the board that we're going to just, as part of making sure that previous taxes are paid, we're going to make sure that the meals tax is fully implemented at their program, and they put in proper procedures to make sure that that's addressed. Okay?
Good, thank you. I
We
was
have
gonna-
no
I was gonna
question.
ask about that.
Yeah, we have no question they're not doing it right now. We just wanted to triple check.
All right. A motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? Being none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the common victualer's license,
Make a motion, we issue that license.
I'll second.
also subject to being up to date and whatnot. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Minutes of 5:19.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? Being none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Our next meeting will be on Tuesday.
July 13th.
Thank you very much, yes.
Monday.
What
May-
about the 13th?
I need to interject. I originally said I looked at my calendar very quickly, but I didn't see the dot. That week, I'm not on vacation, but that dot, I already have something on July 13th. So I
Do we
will-
know we'll have 3 members of the board then?
There'll
Uh,
be-
right, so we'll still have a
I'll
majority.
be here,
Okay, great.
and it's something we can't really put off because it has to be done before the 15th, correct?
All right, so there'll be a meeting of the board for the purposes really of transfers
It's a
only.
transfer.
It's
For
not,
finance,
not
yeah.
intended to be a full session of the board.
Correct.
Strictly, basically to handle the
Sorry about that.
transfers.
And that would
On
mean
July
our next-
3rd,
No
I was gonna say, that'd mean our next regular scheduled meeting
Will
will be
be
the 21st.
21st, Tuesday the 21st,
Okay.
and then in August, it'll be Tuesday the 18th.
Now, do we have a joint meeting with the school committee
23rd of
in July.
July. July
July
23rd.
23rd?
July 23rd, and that's that sort of informal meeting just between the Board of Selectmen and the school committee, which is also open to the public. Okay, it's,
Wow.
See, we made this easy
Holy
on you.
macaroni.
now there's a little funny business going on here over a cup of coffee, so I'm not even gonna get into it, but, at any rate, we're at the
You sure
public
the clock's
comment
correct?
period.
Supposed to have full disclosure.
And the rules, if I remember correctly, are we have 10 minutes of public comment, limited to 3 minutes apiece, generally speaking.
I'll take Bob's. Okay, hey, son.
Yep.
I made prepared statement just because I don't want to go off track.
Could you identify yourself with the people at home, Steve?
Yep, my name is Steve Dewhurst. I wrote the Town of Carver's website. I really don't want to be here, but I don't see that I've been left with any choice. I'm here to report on the status and future of the town website. I'll try to keep this as short as possible. I will point out, however, there are no matters of opinion in the following comments. I can prove, and typically have already proved, everything I'm going to say. I'll also point out, for those who may not know, that Selectman Hewens is my wife. I know that people here know that, but the audience may not. Her only involvement in the comments that follow are as the selectman who pushed to establish a town website to promote governmental transparency. While there would be no conflict of interest in her involvement, in order to avoid confusion, we decided to exclude her participation in my dealings with the board and town administrator regarding my work on the website. I've been trying for a year to settle these issues quietly and behind the scenes, directly with the board and town administrator, but have received no interest, no cooperation, and virtually no response. The current situation. When the town administrator interrupted maintenance on the website without notice last June, at the meeting of June 24th, the site was in the middle of a planned upgrade. As a result,
Mr. Chairman, if we're going to have accusations that are unsubstantiated, this is not the public forum for that, so I object to that statement.
well, this board has been, I'm going off text now, I'm trying not to. This board's been very free with making accusations in the same forum regarding myself. And as the town administrator knows, I have proved everything I've just said. I've demonstrated it, I've asked the board to assist me in clarifying it, and I've gotten no response. If your decision is that you don't want to deal with me or the website or the truth or the behavior of this board, and you'd just like to sweep everything under the rug and forget about it, that's fine. Either way, I'm out of here at the end of this meeting. I thought you might want to know what's going to happen to your website and how we got there. Mr. Chair, would you like to know that, or shall I just leave?
Well, this is a subject that I almost would have liked to have seen as an agenda item. It's important enough, rather than just during a public comment period, and also give the,
After a year of trying to catch your attention, I figured this is probably the only way to do it.
well, I was under the impression that we'd made progress on this, and that the town administrator had been working within the town to get a new website set up. I did not understand that, you're making it sound as if we're on the verge of collapse.
That is correct. We did hire a new firm to come in and do it. They've been meeting with town employees. They have a draft of the website. It's been reviewed by staff, and they're moving forward with implementing that in the near future. And that contract has already been let. It's underway. It just takes a little time to put that together, and our current structure we have that was done with the work of the website committee that was disbanded Steve has been willing to come in and do some technical upgrades when we needed to make sure that additional year minutes were done. Those were done, and it's been fully functional to the point that we need. Again, we are going forward with a full upgrade. That was discussed at a previous selectmen's meeting. We talked about the committee in the town, made up of town staff, and their recommendations, and we're implementing that.
So I take it you'd like to not have an update, not know what's happening, and to proceed as we have been proceeding. Is that
Well,
correct?
I think basically what we have is, and understand that, I respect your position, and you and I have communicated on this issue periodically over the past year, and did get together to discuss it at one point in time. But I'm just not sure that this is the correct forum to get into this level of depth. It really belongs as an agenda item possibly, but even better than that, again, I understand that there have been some communication issues. I'll defer to the judgment of the rest of the board, but my thinking is I would be glad to sit in a meeting with you and the town administrator one-on-one and go through all of this, step
I'm
by
ready for the
step.
past year to do that,
Well,
but I can't get anybody's attention. It's fine, Ron.
If I have failed to understand and respond to that appropriately, what I'm saying now is that I will sit with you and the town administrator and anyone else that you or he would like to have attend and go through this step by step. It's important enough to make sure that it's properly dealt with. I don't know that a public comment period is the correct time for something as important as this, though.
Well, I'm out of here next week, so I'm going to have to excuse myself from any future discussions. I'll cut out
When you say you're out of here next week, you're,
I run a business. I'm going to be
So
away
traveling, okay.
until September.
I probably can be available sometime this week if that works for you.
Sure. The thing I do want to say, in case it doesn't happen, which is the history of this, is basically, since I don't have any access to the website, even though I ostensibly have permission to maintain it, I have no access to the website. Also, I can't get anybody to respond to any direct questions about the website. I have been unable, this board took a vote saying that the disbanded website committee would review the technical aspects of this new proposal, which is fine. But that hasn't happened. I cannot get the town administrator to give me access to the information I need. I am concerned about the 7,000 public records that may or may not be promulgated in the new website. I have a lot of technical concerns, all of which you guys know, because I've emailed them to you over the past year. Things about backups, about data safety, about the fact that the website is not fully functional because it's between two states. Let me just cut to the chase and then be done. Basically, what I'm going to tell you is two things. One is I'm not going to maintain the website anymore because I can't. I don't have any access to it, and nobody will communicate to me. Number two, I'm withdrawing use of my website code as of August 31st. I have been trying for several years to 3 different town administrators and town council to transfer rights to the code to the town, but nobody is interested. I don't know what else to do. I have a number of other comments that I will omit, since everybody was feeling so happy before I came here.
I will be in contact with you and see if we can't set up a meeting over the next couple of days before you have to start traveling again.
June 27th.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Steve. Mr. Belbin?
Robert Belbin, 26 Gate Street. Thank you very much for your time. Couple of issues. The first one is, I'll put my constable hat on here today. As an elected constable here, and the governance committee had their meetings for constables before it went to town meeting, none of the appointed constables were ever notified of those meetings. And there may be some issues with going to an all-appointed constable. So dealing with contracts that constables already have with residents in this town and businesses. And there's a number of them, more than 3. So there will be implications with that also. That being said, I'd like to offer my services to the town as an elected constable to help draft any rules or regulations to protect ourselves as the constables on rules, regulations, policies, procedures that the town's going to impose on the appointed constables.
Do we not have any set of rules as of this point in time?
At this point in time, I need to check with the police chief. I think the rules are that the selection is done, but I have no objections with Mr. Belbin offering to put a draft down for our review.
Well, I think it should be like a committee between different other constables that are elected and maybe an appointed one, and really to look over what the town already has in place, and also
That'd be helpful.
to have a committee developed for that. And if you guys could do that, that would be really great, and I'd volunteer my services for that. That's number one.
All right, Michael, can you work with the chief on pursuing that?
Yes.
The second thing here is, I don't know if you noticed, but in the newspaper, the Carver Reporter, about the coal property in North Carver that we paid millions of dollars for. I walked that property many times. I hunt on that property. My son has. I've helped with Boy Scout projects on that property. I consider that property my property, just like every other residence in this town. It's your property. I've talked to people riding their ATVs out there, tell them this is conservation land, you can't do that. I've helped with the bogs producing down there. So I know the property very well. I filed a complaint with the Conservation Commission regarding some dumping done on the coal property. As soon as I found it, I think it was April 27th, somewhere around there, I called the conservation agent. I took pictures at that time. I submitted a complaint, written complaint to her about it. The dumping is only done for the solar area where the project's being done under phase 2. If you walk along the fence line, east and west, there are no other dumpings done of stumps, dirt, boulders, debris, pieces of metal that are out there. Mr. Nowen, the conservation chairman, stated to the newspaper that it was done by the state 10 years ago. I have proof in the pictures that I took. There is no way this was done 10 years ago. His comments put the town at risk, I feel, by implicating the state in this dumping. At the last meeting where Solaire America owner came before them. He came before them just to get permission to cut trees down on the Cole property. He had already cut trees down prior to even getting that permission. The Conservation Commission has rules for the Cole property. No introduction of any plant life, no cutting of trees, no dumping. There's a whole list of things that include also hunting restrictions too. All right, the town administrator made a comment that I wasted money, taxpayer money with this. Mr. Nowen at the last meeting, the owner for Solaire America was here sitting down, and Mr. Nowen said no damage was done to the property. Solaire America owner stated that, thank you for setting the record straight. The problem is the damaged area comes in the fact of natural blueberry bushes, boxberry bushes, things that the animals eat out there in the woods. They damage plant life, tree life, trails that the animals use around that area. Now, I hold this property that we spent a lot of money on, okay, to a high degree of conservation land. Okay? I feel the Conservation Commission members, none of them asked Solaire America owner any questions related to the dumping or my complaint when he was there in front of them. Nothing.
Bob, what is it you're looking, I mean, I understand, I've seen that information before. It falls under the domain of the Conservation Commission. The Board of Selectmen really don't have any authority in this area. Are you just asking for us to interact with the Conservation Commission?
I'm asking you to bring the Conservation Commission here to qualify their determination here. I have issues with the chairman. I have no problem, and that's something separate that we'll discuss afterwards in private, okay? But some of the things that he's done to me is not right, and he should never have been part of that.
I don't want to get into
Okay.
personal accusations.
No personal accusations about it, but.
And it certainly clouds the issue a little bit when you do have this nature,
Right.
this relationship with the
Okay.
chair of the Conservation Commission, so.
Okay,
And I
so-
hesitate to pull the Conservation Commission in for a meeting. I think the most we can do is we as individuals can approach the Conservation Commission, have a conversation, ask some of the questions that you've raised. But I hesitate to request them to come before us as if they've committed some crime that you believe they have. But I think we need to take a step back and have a conversation first before we take that step.
And that's fine, if you want to put it on the agenda the next time. I mean, I submitted pictures and there's proof. There's no way this was done 10 years ago, as was stated in the newspaper. And we're supposed to protect it. And when it says there's no damage to that property, there is. There's damage to the fence line that's broken along that fence line, which is state property, okay? But there's damage to our plant life and animal life. There was introduction of grasses in there that was dumped on there. So, I mean, there's introduction of plant life. And the
Again, if
conservation.
you'd like, if you want to send a memo outlining each of these points, is it included in what you sent? Because we received that before.
Right, but there's
So-
actually, and my final thing about this is, went out there this weekend, and they've put up all the solar panels up. They put little stones underneath the solar panels. Well, guess what's on the Cole property? Little stones from what's underneath the solar panel. It looks like they were thrown across over the fence line.
Would it make sense to have a representative from the Conservation Commission come in? Because all this we've heard has been what Bob has shared, and
If I can address that, I mean, and I will say that the agent, the commission, the planning director, myself, the building inspector have been out at the site numerous times.
Okay.
We have reviewed Bob's information. The Conservation Commission is the authority that's delegated to oversee the property. They have gone out time and time again and have found nothing of substance to justify issuing a cease and desist order as was requested. The Conservation Commission requested that Solaire America cut down some additional trees along the fence line for protection of the wildlife and also to give a little buffer from the fence to there. That's why they were in. They didn't do that before the fact. It was the commission that was asking them to say, you've cut back what you agreed to. We've walked the site. We think you need to cut back a little bit more for protection. So, you know, again, I've made the statement that there's been a lot of staff time spent on this analysis. And there's a disagreement between Mr. Belbin, who believes in what he believes, and the legal body that's responsible for overseeing it. There's been personal issues that have been identified that may be clouding it, real or unreal. But I'm not sure what else we can do, because there's nothing that I've seen, there's nothing the planning director has seen, there's nothing that other independent people that have seen that are objectively, that don't have personal issues, have seen with this to cause any further discussion of it. I mean,
Okay.
there's public hearings, they're notified, no other people are coming up to complain.
So you didn't see any of like the natural life, like the blueberry bushes being damaged?
No, I mean, what I saw was a project as approved was being constructed. Nothing beyond what was being approved was being damaged. It's a defined area, and that defined area is under works. It's still not completed. Yes, they have the panels up. You know, there's still a couple piles of mulch they have to spread out, and I'm sure a couple other small details. But I'm comfortable, having been out there myself, and I even went out there unannounced and actually explored it on my own too, just to make sure. And I see nothing that would raise an alarm to me, and as Sarah knows, I have an environmental background, so if I saw something, I would say something, but I don't see it.
I'd like to suggest, out of respect to Mr. Belbin, that we each take an
that we
opportunity to talk to
talk to the
the conservation, and if any of us feel that we need to move further, that we reserve the right to ask a representative to come before the committee.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, I would like to, I want to emphasize what Michael said. I think people have gone above and beyond to check out this situation. I think that if we're going to talk to someone, it should be the agent in this case. Partially
Talk to them
because the
individually.
chair, if there is an issue
Yeah.
between the complainant.
Yeah, but I don't want to suggest that either Mr. Belbin or the chair would allow any personal
Well,
alienation to get in the
perhaps-
way of their opinion. But I understand, obviously,
Perhaps it-
personalities can sometimes get in the way.
Perhaps it should be the agent and the chair, is what I'm saying. I think those would be the two.
The agent, I think, should be the primary
Oh,
contact.
absolutely.
agree.
Absolutely.
Thought process.
And we'll do that.
Anything else, Mr. Belbin?
No, that's it. Have a good night.
Thank you. Were there any other citizens that wanted to come before the board this evening prior to adjournment? There being none.
We move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Further discussion. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Congratulations
Good night
on
from
owning your
Area
first meeting.
58 Community Access